Fresh off the bye week with some key players returning from injury, the Steelers are headed to the West Coast as they prepare for a battle with the Los Angeles Rams. We have the latest on both teams before the 4 o'clock matchup this afternoon. You are watching Steelers Kickoff. It's live right here on KDKA TV.
Welcome to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Inglewood, California, the site of this afternoon's matchup between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the LA Rams. Big West Coast battle on the way, and we're getting you ready for the action this game day morning. Welcome, everyone, inside our KDK studios for another edition of Steelers Kickoff. I'm Bob Pompeani, along with the quarterback of the program, Mr. Charlie Batch. Rich Walsh, Gerry Dulac, and Missy Matthews will be here shortly as we continue this discussion. It's been an up and down season so far, but the Steelers have a winning record after 5 games. That's something that you have to applaud despite the way they've played. The Steelers sit with a 2-0 record in the division after close victories against the Browns and Ravens. Also have a conference win against the Raiders, but the disturbing issues popped into question against teams like the 49ers and Texans. Consistency is key, and the team still needs to find that. So, Charlie, let's start there. We're not quite to the halfway point of the season, but we still have not seen a distinct identity for this football team. What is missing, and what should that identity be?
Right. I think when you have the lack of production on first down, you're not getting those opportunities for more plays in the drive. And right now, they're still trying to figure it out. And for me, I don't think they have an identity. And when you hear the sound bites coming out of the locker room, they're still trying to convince themselves of what that identity is. So there's still a lot of work to be done.
So this team is getting set to make that trip from the team hotel to SoFi Stadium. Rich Walsh is standing by live at that hotel. He was in the locker room all week. He heard how players kind of used their extra time to get prepared for this big matchup. Rich, what's up?
Well, I'm in sunny Los Angeles, California, so it's pretty nice here, Bob. The Steelers had an extra week to prepare for this game. They had a chance to right all the wrongs. They had a chance to get healthy, and they're hoping that they did both for this game. I was in the locker room all week, and they feel like they're on the right track for the second half of the season.
Looking at yourself as a player, what I need to improve on, what we need to improve on as an offense, getting with Coach Canna, watching all of our pass plays together, what went well, what didn't go well, and where we can improve. So it was a solid week of work for us. Yeah, very, very critical. That's the only way we're going to get better is hold ourselves to a high standard and continue to push forward and work hard every day to get better. So felt like it was a good week for us mentally to figure out where we were, what we need to do to improve.
It was good to just have a little reflect tape of just all together, all of us need to do as a team to do better.
And so just always wanting to get better, no matter how I play, whether it's a game that I have, a couple sacks or no sacks, I always want to be able to get better. I never want to get content. And so I think that's just, just self-evaluation, just really always want to get better.
So these stats are proof. The Steelers have done a great job of resetting after the bye week under Mike Tomlin. They won their last 6 games after a week off, beating the Saints last year 20-10. Tomlin is 12-4 all-time after a bye week. Now, Mike Tomlin did say a big reason for their success during a bye week, they're able to do a better job of self-evaluation, self-scouting than a normal week when they have to concentrate on opponent. So we'll see if they can extend that streak to 7 games here in Los Angeles. Guys?
All right, Rich, thanks very much for that. And Charlie, as a player, how did you use the bye week? Did you sit back? Did you take it easy? Did you study more? And how many new things can you actually implement during this bye week?
Yeah, a lot of times it just depends on when the bye season happens. When it's later in the season, you want to take a break, get away from it, and reset. But when it happens this early in the year, you now have to go back, and you heard the players talk about self-evaluate what tendencies are showing up that you may be able to break that defensive coordinators are starting to get a lead on. So these are things you just kind of look at, but at the end of it, you're just trying to figure out a way to get better, and you hear those players wanting to do so.
Get better. That was the theme of that discussion for sure. And now it's time to check in on our Steelers insider from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Mr. Gerry Dulac, who joins us here in the studio this morning. We talked about how Mike Tomlin's teams have fared after bye weeks. Gerry, you've covered all of them. Why do you think Tomlin has had success in that regard?
Well, Bob, I think the most important thing that Mike Tomlin does during the bye is he gives the players the time to take a step back and basically relax. Even though it came somewhat early in the season, they've had earlier buys than this. In fact, 8 of the buys during his tenure have come before this date. But what he does is he has the players just step back and basically relax. He canceled one of the practices during the bye week. They really only had one practice, and they used that time for the coaches to look at what they're doing and then implement maybe some of that schematically the following week. I've seen Mike Tomlin make very, very, very few, if any, personnel changes during the bye. It's basically what they do schematically. And I think letting the players relax for a week is the biggest thing that he's done.
All right, Gerry, you wrote this week about a couple of days ago in the Post-Gazette, the Steelers possibly in better position this year because of how offensive generally around this league have struggled. Expand upon that.
You know, Bob, I think Mike Tomlin at his press conference last week talked about studying the trends going on around the National Football League. And when I asked him what those are, he didn't want to be specific. But I don't think there's any question when you look at what's happening around the league, it's the fact that scoring is down. Last week, there were 18 teams that failed to score more than 19 points. That ties for the lowest in a bye week since the bye week system was implemented in 1990. Look at the scoring average per team around the National Football League. It's 21.8. Just 3 years ago, Bob, it was 24.8. Scoring is down, and that plays right into the Steelers' hands.
All right, Gerry, we'll check back in with you shortly. We're just getting started here on Steelers Kickoff. Coming up next, Missy Matthews had a chance to sit down with linebacker Cole Holcomb. Keep it locked right here to KDKA. That is coming up next.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
Hey, every week, Bordas & Bordas is donating to the Sacks for Kids campaign. Each Steelers sack, including the preseason, the firm is donating $500. So with 27 on the year to this point, donations sitting right now at $13,500. Thank you, Bordas & Bordas. And one of the newest members of the Steelers front seven has been coming on the scene in recent weeks. Steelers TV's Missy Matthews sat down with Cole Holcomb over on the South Side earlier this week.
He's back. He has time now. He shuffles his feet, throws it down the field, and the pass is broken up.
What a play by Cole Holcomb there to break that baby up. He's going to be hit, and Holcomb has him. They put him in the dirt with a little bit of extra oomph.
Explain to me what it has been like coming to a new team, but also just being part of a brand new group other than Mark Robinson and trying to figure things out.
Yeah, I mean, coming in, they said it was a total revamp of the whole room. Like you said, only Mark Rob was there. I mean, I felt like, we were all trying to get to know each other, but it also, we also bonded over that in terms of like, hey, we're all guys that have been on teams before. We've also played quite a bit of ball. So I think we had a lot of things that we could relate to.
Coach Tomlin said this week he felt like your unit is playing better every game. The splash plays are coming. Do you guys feel that happening, or do you still feel like, man, there's so many more things we can do better?
I feel the splash plays coming, and I feel that we are progressing, but I do think there's a lot of more meat on that bone, and I think we're all capable of giving a little more, but that's the competitive side of all of us.
What type of problems do the Rams present to you guys this week?
They got Stafford, Kupp, Puka. I think Sean McVay is a great offensive mind, and they do a lot, and a lot of motions, a lot of shifting. And Stafford, everything runs through Stafford. He's out there checking plays, and he's dissecting those defenses. So we're definitely going to have to try and change that look up on him.
Last important mullet question for you. Does it just feel like it embodies Pittsburgh?
That was Mike T's first thing. He was like, you better not cut that mullet. And I definitely think it's definitely, steel curtain vibes.
Pretty good mullet, no doubt about it. All right, Missy, thanks very much. So Cole Holcomb, I guess, is considered the quarterback of the defense right now, but it's time to turn our attention to the actual quarterback of the offense. That would be Kenny Pickett. With this week's quarterback analysis brought to you by Cleveland Brothers. And Charlie, the Steelers seem to move Pickett out of the pocket a lot more in recent weeks. Do you like this trend? Do you think it is viable longer term?
No, I do like this trend, and a lot of that comes down to what defenses that you are playing, because against the Ravens, already they're going to bring that blitz expecting you to be right there at 7 to 9 yards in that pocket. But when you can move it, now it changes your launch point. So the one thing that does concern me with this is the fact that they really roll to the left, and defensive coordinators are going to start bringing that blitz to the left. So they just have to figure out a way to incorporate some of those sprint outs to the right just to keep defensive coordinators off balance.
That's when he seems to be at his best or most comfortable, going to the left, but you're right. Then they see that, now you got to figure out a plan B. All right, coming up next, Rich Walsh is back with us, a preview of the Rams. We'll be doing that when we return right here on KDKA.
BetMGM Steelers Kickoff is presented in part by your Western PA Chevy dealers.
Well, after a surprising start to the season with contributions coming from many places, including the 5th round of the NFL draft, the Rams are making a case for being a top team in the NFC. Not many people thought that would happen. Rich Walsh is back to take a deeper look at the Rams and their season so far. Rich?
Well, Bob, after winning just 5 games last year, the Rams really weren't expected to be contenders here in 2023, but they've defied those odds and expectations, and so far right now look like they're in a hunt for an NFC wild card. Before the Rams traveled to Seattle for their season opener, experts predicted they would just win 6 games the entire season. Not only did LA beat the Seahawks that day, they've since won twice more and were very competitive in losses to some of the best teams in the league like Philly and San Fran. Their offense has led the way this year, specifically veteran quarterback Matt Stafford and a group of speedy wide receivers like rookie Puka Nacua. Stafford ranks 3rd in the NFL in yards per game, and Nacua is tied for the league lead in receptions with 50. After missing the first 4 games, star wide receiver Cooper Kupp returned 2 weeks ago and has since been dominant. In just 2 games, Kupp has 15 catches, 266 yards, and a touchdown.
It's very difficult to minimize a player of his caliber. You know, whether it's a receiver or whether it's a talented rusher like Aaron Donald or whether it's a talented veteran quarterback like Stafford, man, usually it's multiple things, and usually you're working to minimize as opposed to shut out.
The Rams have not had much success on the ground, and that was before starting tailback Kyren Williams injured his ankle last week. Williams will not play today, and the Rams don't really have a solid number 2 option. But they do have a number 1 option on defense. That, of course, is Penn Hill's native and 3-time NFL Defensive Player of the Year, Aaron Donald. Even in his 10th season, Donald is still a game wrecker. Last week, he blew up the Cardinals with 5 tackles, 2 QB hits, and 3 tackles for loss. All right, one thing the Steelers will have going for them today is their head coach's record against the Rams franchise. Mike Tomlin's 4-0 against both L.A. and St. Louis Rams, and only one of those games was decided by less than 10 points. But over the course of their 90-year history, the Steelers have never beaten the Rams in Los Angeles. They lost all 9 games against them out here in L.A. Well, the Steelers are familiar with SoFi Stadium. This is their 2nd trip here now. They played the Chargers 2 years ago in a wild game. They lost that game 41-37. But I would say if they can score 37 points here today, they got a really good chance of beating the Rams. Guys?
I would agree with that, Rich. Yeah, that would be a welcome relief, so to speak. All right, thank you very much for that. The Steelers thought this bye week would also make it possible to get many of their injured starters back from injury. However, the big news this week was that tight end Pat Freiermuth, who was looking like he was going to be back on Monday, then a midweek setback. So let's take a look at who's in and who's out for this game today. Deontay Johnson is in, along with James Daniels, Dan Moore Jr., Anthony McFarland, all set to suit up. Meanwhile, Freiermuth re-aggravated that injury, and Cam Hayward is still working on a recovery from his groin situation. So, Charlie, specifically, what does Johnson bring to the passing game, and how much of an impact can he make today after so much idle time?
Yeah, I would hope that when now you put him into the lineup, now hopefully it opens up some of those running lanes because they have to pay attention to what he's doing out on the outside. Right now, he only has 3 catches. He missed the last month of the season, so you know he's eager to get back and contribute to this offense. And if that's the case, to expect George Pickens to have a bigger day than what he's had over the last couple games.
Got to target him, and it seems to work when they do. Let's talk about the loss of Pat Freiermuth, because I think people thought he was going to be back, give him something in the middle of the field. How much can you expect from a guy like Darnell Washington in that regard? He's a big guy. In preseason, we saw him. How many times he drew pass interference calls?
Yeah, this is a guy that he's still growing into that. He's still young. You know what he's hoping to bring to the table. I love him in the running game. But now here's more of an added element to him, including Connor Hayward. But loss of Freiermuth, that is big because you expected him back off the bye week. And when you re-injure an injury that he had with a hamstring injury, it wouldn't surprise me if this guy is going to be out a few more weeks, because you have to make sure that he's ready to close the season.
IR means 4 weeks minimum, so that's not good. All right, now it's time to get a preview of what's coming up next on the NFL Today, CBS and KDKA. Let's go to New York City. James Brown is standing by. JB?
Hey, Bob, up next on the NFL Today, our doubleheader week begins with a preview of the game between the Browns and the Colts. Your Hall of Fame coach, Bill Cowher, breaks down the top-ranked Cleveland D. Then we'll tell the hip-hop story of Chargers linebacker Deion Henley and his father, Big U. Later, we'll look ahead to the matchup between the Chargers and the Chiefs. But first, coaches guys, Bob and Charlie. They'll return when Steelers Kickoff continues right here on KDKA.
Welcome back to BetMGM Steelers Kickoff.
All right, welcome back to Steelers Kickoff. We all have seen the offensive struggles the Steelers have endured early this season, but a bright spot has been Jaylen Warren out of the backfield. The second-year running back is looking like he deserves more playing time, and that's exactly what's happened. Here's a breakdown of his snaps so far this season. After averaging about 20 snaps per game in the first couple of games, his workload is now around 30 plays or more in recent weeks. So, Charlie, Warren's playing time has increased. Do you think they're going to use him more in this regard, and if so, how?
Yeah, I think they're going to use him more because he's a different element. He's a different back because you now have to now prepare for him in the receiving game. So these are things that he's going to continue to work on. I like where he's at from a pass protection standpoint. And if he keeps producing, you're going to see those numbers to continue to increase.
All right, let's bring back our insider, Gerry Dulac of the Post-Gazette, to expand upon this running back situation. So I think we agree that Jaylen Warren has earned more playing time, Gerry. But inside the facility, are the Steelers happy with Najee Harris's performance so far?
Well, Bob, let me say that they're not unhappy with his performance. You know, he's actually ahead of where he was last year with his numbers. When you compare him to Jaylen Warren, his yards per carry is better than Jaylen Warren, 3.9 to 3.6. Last year, Jaylen Warren was a whole yard ahead of where Najee was running the ball. Jaylen Warren, of course, more effective catching the ball. But the biggest thing they've done with Najee is limit his touches. Go back to his rookie season. 83% of the snaps he played. Now he's down to like 54% of the snaps. So it's not so much that they're unhappy as much as that they are working Jaylen Warren into the lineup more, as they should.
All right, speaking of younger players earning more playing time, there's been an ongoing discussion about top draft picks like Broderick Jones and Joey Porter Jr. not seeing that much time. Why do you think that is, and will that change starting today or moving in the next couple of weeks?
Well, Bob, I think some of that might start to change today, but I will tell you there are people in that facility who think their young people should be playing more, and not just Broderick Jones for how he performs in the run game, and of course Joey Porter Jr., which I think it's made it unfair with what they do with Patrick Peterson, asking him to do on the outside what they said they weren't going to do. But it's more than that. Some people feel that Keanu Benton should be starting. I know he's playing, but he should be starting. And also Nick Herbig should be playing ahead of Marcus Golden as that backup outside linebacker. That's the feeling inside that building, and it's not exactly what's happening on the field.
All right, Charlie, let me ask you about number 24, JPJ. Today there's an interesting assignment. You got two guys who are really good. Puka Nacua, the rookie fifth-round pick, and Cooper Kupp. Who gets what assignment, and how should Porter fit into this?
Yeah, I think he's going to play a lot more only because the Rams, they are going to bring 3-4 receivers on the field. So he has to get out there. And really, as you're at a point of a season where you have to put this young guy in, see what he can do, because right now what he's done thus far, it rewards him for more playing time.
All right, we're almost done here on Steelers Kickoff. You're looking at Steeler fans who've assembled in L.A. This is live, and they're looking to see the team get on the bus and head to SoFi Stadium. When we come back, we have our final predictions. I'm sure you're looking forward to this. It's next right here on Steelers Kickoff.
BetMGM Steelers Kickoff is presented in part by your Western PA Chevy dealers.
All right, welcome back. Now it's time for the fearless predictions you're going to get today here on KDKA. We're going to begin with Rich, who's out there in L.A. Rich, how do you see this game? Even though the Rams are favored, how will it end?
Well, Bob, the Steelers bus has just pulled up behind me. They're headed to SoFi Stadium around 12:30. And I've been going back and forth about this game. I think it's going to be really close. And I like the Steelers to win this game, mainly because of T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith and the Rams' lack of a running game. I think they're going to get after Matt Stafford today. And I like the Steelers to win a very close one that might come down to the very end. I like them 20-19.
All right, Rich. Gerry, let's move over to you. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, fellas, I think and you would hope that Kenny Pickett would benefit from having his top two receivers for the first time in 4.5 games. Having Deontay Johnson back gives him a receiver who won't have a defensive back hanging on his back. That should help him get off to a decent start. And, of course, we've seen the defense win 2 of these games. I like the Steelers 23-20.
Charlie, so far 2 Steeler picks. What do you say?
I think Steelers Nation takes over SoFi Stadium, very similar to what Las Vegas did. Steelers do prevail in this one. Wacky play is going to happen today, but they do come out 24-23.
I got to go with the Rams only because I got to see it first. They scheme well. I expect big numbers for Cooper Kupp today and somewhat less to Puka Nacua. That's going to do it for us. Here's what we have coming up today. The NFL Today on CBS. After the game, make sure you tune over. We'll be on KDKA Plus for Steelers Extra Point and a special edition of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, and then the regular edition 10:35. Number 1 Cochran Sports Showdown. That's on late tonight after the late news. We hope you join us all day here on KDKA. Thanks for joining us. Have a great game day, and we'll see you after the Steelers and Rams later this evening.